With that said, we're on to our headliner. So excited about this, I'm telling you. This is going to be good. Except for he lost his voice, so you're going to deal with that. Our headliner this month is the great Danny O'Malia. Danny O, as those of us that know him well call him, has spent a lifetime in and around the retail grocery business. He started serving customers at the age of 9 while working for his father, the late great Joe O'Malia, in a small grocery in Broad Ripple. Later, he watched Joe begin to build a fantastic corporate culture, the O'Malia Food Company. Danny left a 6-year career as a junior high and high school English teacher in 1975 to join the family business, the O'Malia's food chain, full-time. So everything that Danny has learned has had customer service woven into it, from handling complaints and how to motivate employees to give great customer service. This was always Danny's clarion call. A culture that his father built involved doing the right thing with everyone every time. Danny served as president of O'Malia's from 1986 through 2006, and the last 5 years of that was part of Marsh Supermarkets. In 2007, he took his lifetime of customer service experience and he began spreading the gospel of building a culture of service to companies throughout central Indiana. In 2009, he added keynote speaking to his customer service training and programs and started his own company called Indy's Trusted Servant. Please help me in welcoming to the Spark stage the great Danny O.
I'm good. It's great to be here. When I was growing up, and in more detail later, both by words and by example, my dad, Joe O'Malia, taught me everything about doing the right thing and how important doing the right thing is in your business. One of the books on my suggested reading list when I do customer service training or keynote speaking is a book called Do the Right Thing. Anybody wants to see that suggested reading list, come and see me later, and I'll be glad to email it to you. Do the Right Thing is written by the CEO of Southwest Airlines. I've got a story that illustrates how important doing the right thing is from Southwest Airlines. It's important to do the right thing. It's also the right thing to do for your business. Do you all remember the week of 9/11? Put yourself in the airline business for that period of time. And also, when you were watching the news that week, remember that spokesmen for all the airlines in the country except for one were saying, you know, we're going to have to cut routes and we're going to have to cut jobs. The one exception was Southwest Airlines. Their spokesman said, we are not cutting routes and we are not cutting jobs. He was speaking to the flying public for sure. But you know who he was speaking to more than you and me? He was speaking to the Southwest employees and assuring them that they would still have jobs, not knowing when anybody would ever fly an airplane again. They beat the heck out of their competition during that time frame with that statement versus the statements the other places made. But they went a little bit farther, and you got to have the book to really see the whole story. You see, they were committed before 9/11 to make a contribution to the 401k program at Southwest Airlines on about 9/14 or 9/15. And you know what? Not knowing when the planes would fly again, if ever, they made that contribution. And you know what the employees of Southwest Airlines did during the time when they and all the passengers were stuck all over the country and couldn't get out, couldn't even rent a car anywhere, remember? Well, one flight crew, from pilots down to stewardesses, in one city, took all the stranded passengers to Applebee's for dinner. In another city, another flight crew took all the stranded passengers bowling. And in another city, they took all the stranded passengers to a movie. None of them called Southwest and said, do you think this is a good idea? They just did it. I think that had everything to do with we're not cutting routes and we're not cutting jobs, And yes, we're going to make that contribution to the 401k. They did the right thing. And that's something most companies don't know how to do. The right thing really pays off when you think about it and ask yourself this question. What airline that's flying today doesn't charge for luggage? Southwest Airlines. I think there's a direct connection. My dad always emphasized doing the right thing for the right reason with everybody every time. And he would tell me, sitting down and talking to me, who all those people were. You'd never guess who they all are. But the first group was the employees. After all, they're the folks that are going to impact the most customers. The second group, the customers, but you're going to count on your employees to do most of that. Then it got really important and underground because nobody teaches their employees this, I don't think. The third group was the vendors. All those hundreds of companies that sold us those 40,000 grocery items. I can remember when I was a kid, about 16, and my dad and a partner bought a store at 71st and Keystone where Sullivan Hardware is now. They bought it from a guy that was doing $8,000 a week in the store. And a year later, it was doing $50,000 a week. And not only the other employees and the customers, but the Coke and Pepsi guy would say to me, the reason this store has increased its business 800% in the first year is the way your dad treats people. Wow, what a powerful statement, and what an affirmation of what my dad had already taught me. Absolutely blows me away. Back in 1993-94, Meijer came to town. This is how important treating your vendors is. We got a call from one of the big vendors. It was a vendor that delivered us 5 or 6 days a week. And they said, gee, Meijer's insisting we deliver them at 8 o'clock. I know we've been delivering you at 8 for 20 years, but we got to go with Meijer. They got a lot more clout than you do. Well, that was going to mess up our schedule and mess up our service to an extent, but we worked around it. Within a month, that company called us back and said, we made a mistake. When we pull up to your store, you got people ready to unload us, and you're very efficient, and you work with us very well. Meijer doesn't, and that puts us behind getting the groceries to everybody else. So we're going to come back to you at 8 o'clock. That's who you want to be out there in the marketplace. But don't forget the community. Being good to the community is really, really important too. And my dad would even say sometimes, but he said this when I was a little kid too, hey, you got to be good to your family. You got to be good to your wife and your kids. One aspect of doing the right thing that is sadly lacking in today's society is telling the truth. Again, telling the truth to everybody, your employees, your customers, your vendors, your family, everybody, the community. When you lie, what do I do with that daggone, there it is. When you lie, the lie owns you. The only piece of nonfiction on my suggested reading list is this book right here, Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Written in 1957, it foresees an America where the government takes over all the industries. And in the book, one of the heroes of the book is steel magnate Hank Rearden. The industry big shots get together and try to figure out what to do about all this, and one of the big problems is sometime after the government's taken over all the businesses, that everybody's lying left and right. And they're trying to figure out what to do about this. And Hank Rearden says this: when you lie, the lie owns you. You might get by with the lie at first, but you're not going to get by with it forever. And that's so true. I'll never forget this as long as I live. This is the lie I can't overcome. I'm about 10 years old. My next door neighbor is Stevie Cox. Behind me lives Susie Emmerich, a girl. I'm still in the anti-girl stage. It only lasted about another year. So I take Susie Emmerich's doll and I pitch it up on Stevie Cox's roof. Then I go out to play baseball the rest of the day, and I forget I did it. It rains overnight. Susie's doll is discovered ruined on Stevie's roof. And I stand by as Stevie's mom spanks him. And I realize, gee, I messed up Stevie, I messed up Susie, who I don't even like. Within a year, both families moved away. I couldn't make up for the lie. That's a bad, bad, bad thing. And that lie's owned me ever since. I belong to one of the great service clubs in the world, the Rotary. There are 15,000 Rotary clubs the world over. I belong to the Indianapolis Downtown Rotary. After every Rotary meeting, and we meet every week, and I think most of those 15,000 clubs worldwide meet every week, they recite the Rotary four-way pledge. What's the first step in it? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? But it starts with selling the truth. Bill Bach is a local attorney. He spoke to the Rotary a couple of years ago. He's the guy that brought down Lance Armstrong. And he says, these are the benefits of telling the truth. And I'm not going to go through them with you. If you'd like to see this stuff, just give me a card and I'll email it to you. It's so important to tell the truth in business, in life. If you don't tell the truth, nothing else you say is going to matter. And if you do tell the truth, well, that's going to be a good thing. So I'll end this by saying, George Carlin said this. Oh, what's the 9th commandment? Don't bear false witness. George Carlin said, what did he say? Hell, I don't remember. Thank you.